Hey everyone, welcome to a new Age of Origins video, and in this video we are going to be explaining what the best things that you can do as a new player. There's a lot of things to keep in mind in a game like this because, there's a lot of things going on and you gotta really understand what you're doing, but it's also a friendly game because it has a lot of events that are going on and a lot of content. So it's very fun and engaging, and overall it's just really cool to play. So we're going to be taking a look at, first of all, taking a look at some of the main mistakes you might make as a beginner, and not to make the same mistakes that I did. And then after that, we'll be looking at what you should be doing as a new player, and also taking a look at some of the core concepts of the game. So if you're ready to go, everybody, then let's boil this down. So first of all, we're going to be looking at how we start the game. And when you start the game, you might be a little bit overwhelmed, and you might not know what to do in this big city, and you need to upgrade stuff, and you might not know where to go first. So usually what you should be doing is following the Doomsday Recovery Plan quests, because they are very useful and helpful in getting starting resources and get acquainted, with the starting mechanics of the game. You could see this as a little bit of like a tutorial that a lot of games would have, but it does carry through as you progress. And usually, you should be taking a look at this if you don't know what to do. I wouldn't go off and do a lot of things that are way off of this because, of lack of resources, and it's quite easy to make a lot of mistakes early on by not following this. So let's assume that you've been following along with the Doomsday Recovery Plan, and you are in the stage of the game where you're able to do more things that's not so streamlined. You're growing your city, you're playing some tower defense, you're going against some enemies, and if you don't know what else to do, you'll want to take a look at some of your buildings, and you might wonder what is best to upgrade. Now, in one of the previous Age of Origins videos that we did here on the channel, we did take a look at the buildings and some of the best ones that you should upgrade. But even then, we can sum it up by saying that you shouldn't be making the mistakes of upgrading your buildings too far too early. Like the farms, for example, you don't want to push them too far and have too many of them because you don't get a lot of passive income in the early game. They are good later on, but you really don't want to overinvest in these. And the reason for this really is because you're going to be getting most of your resources through the Doomsday Recovery Plan that we talked about earlier and the PvP game modes. So you don't want to upgrade them to too high of a level, too many of them. You just want to have kind of one decently upgraded, but you don't need to get more than one really. And you just need one so that you can upgrade your main hall levels, which is very important to your progression. Right, so that's all for buildings, and next up we have the alliances. Now, alliances are really important to this game, and the reason why is because if you don't have an alliance that's competitive or that's very good, you won't be able to do a whole lot in some events and on the world map. And there is a lot of things to consider when you're joining an alliance. And first of all, if you do want to be in an alliance that has some players in it and has a high power, this is just really, really important for the long term of your progression of your account. Currently, this alliance that I have is not full because we're going to be letting you guys in, and we want you guys to join in us in this alliance so that we can play together. But usually, the alliances are really cool places in which you can make your city way stronger. So if you don't have an alliance yet, then feel free to click and join Boilon's army so that we can kind of do some fun stuff together. When you go to the alliance technology, you can contribute a few times, and this is a really cool thing that basically is an alliance donation system, where you can upgrade the levels for production and steel production, oil gathering, steel gathering, and all sorts of other upgrades, including PvP related stuff, and upgrading your defense and attack capability, which is really, really important. You can also get some extra perks like rally organization, which is a really cool thing that we'll get into more depth later on. which helps you get more of your units for alliance-based battles, like way more units. And this is done with your entire alliance, and there is a lot of good perks here. So you want to be in an alliance that is active so that you can do these. And there's also alliance buildings that we want to upgrade, and hopefully, we can soon. There's also an alliance shop where you can get some really nice stuff, including VIP points, which are good for perks, for faster troop times and stuff like that. But overall, it's a great place to get power-ups for your account. There is also the Doom Arena. Now, you do need an alliance hall for this, so we won't be showcasing that in this video here today. There is alliance help for troops and for buildings. There's a lot of things going on for alliances. Again, like I said, I highly encourage you to join an alliance because it's a very useful thing to have. And like I said, we have built this alliance for you guys to come and join us and play with us and conquer the zombie apocalypse together. Right, so as a beginner, there is another thing that you need to take into account, and this is the world map. As you can see, there are a ton of different types of enemies. For instance, we have the mutant zombies over here, which are PvE enemies, which we would call player versus environment. And these are just basic CPU enemies. You kill these for some resources. It's not super difficult. But there are also the cities of other commanders, which you will most likely be attacking to get even more resources. But we are not going to be attacking anyone in this video because we don't have the chance to do so currently, and I just don't have enough troops for this. But you often want to take a look at who's got a peace shield and who doesn't, so you know who you can attack and who you can't. And now this area here is controlled by an alliance, so if you want to attack this, then you'd probably get obliterated instantly because you'd have the entire alliance coming after you, so you really don't want this unless you have a strong alliance like we were talking before earlier. There's also some bosses around here that are very difficult to kill, and don't go on to them unprepared, and usually they do have a recommended level underneath that you can see to beat them. Currently we're level 10, so this is way outside of our range here. The world map is really interesting though, because as long as you have troops, you can kind of go wherever you want, as long as you can keep fighting, whatever you want to fight, and it's a great place for beginners to collect resources. But you do need to kind of come back to the city every now and then to build your troops, and remember to heal your troops and get your vehicles. And even here, you can see my army here as well. But that's basically it for the world map. And lastly, we have the officers. Now, what did they do? Well, these guys are very important and are the guys who are going to be giving you passive bonuses for your city. And this is very crucial to your strategy because these guys, for instance, this buff gives you plus 10% extra max wounded, which allows you to recover 10% more troops after an attack and saving you a lot of resources. So, if you use some expensive units and you can recover them afterwards, it's very helpful. This guy here, Simon, he's got a lot of active abilities and he's very strong, and he's probably my best officer, honestly. He gives more wounded units and increases a lot of attacks for him, for your troops. He's really insane, and he's just a really great officer. If you do get Simon, you'll want to use him hands down because some of these are just extremely strong. You do need to use them at some point, and you can get a lot of these for free. And they're super strong. They provide a lot of passive bonuses that will help you and your city and even your alliance, so who knows, you'll really have to try them out. We do have a special one here. We got Panda Jack here, and this guy gives army attack and HP as well. So yeah, lots of cool. They look really awesome as well, so do give them a shot. All of the officers will boost your stats and your city and your army or your wounded units. You definitely need to check them all out and decide which ones you want to appoint here. For instance, here we have some of the low tier officers here in these slots, but I can change and appoint other ones to fill these slots. And I can appoint Simon, and different officers will go into different slots. This is really important. And you can see that my power goes up quite a lot from doing this, just from appointing these guys. So you can kind of see that they're incredibly helpful for, my city. And That's everything related to officers. And as we were talking before, we encourage you guys to come and join us at Boilon's army. You know, we're going to be hopefully doing some synchronized hits and alliance battles, so we would love it if you guys want to, you know, come and join us and take part in taking on the enemy. And that's going to be it for the end of this video, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next Age of Origins video. Don't forget, though, if you haven't already, to click on the link in the description below to download the game and get started if you haven't.